All right, so a little while ago, I got into an argument with someone I really care about, someone who is extremely important to me, someone who's so close to me actually that they're genuinely capable of hurting me, hurting my feelings, which is exceedingly rare. I think it's not often that I'll let somebody into my life so close to the point where they can actually like leave a dent in my feelings. That's pretty rare, and I think one thing I didn't really fully realized at the time is that because I had let them so close to me, in return, I was actually so close to them that I could also genuinely hurt their feelings. I don't think that's something I really took into consideration, at least at the time. We had an argument, and to this day, I still think the argument was completely necessary. I don't regret having the argument. I think it was inevitable. There was just no way to avoid it. It was going to happen one way or another, no matter what. We'd been having some issues with each other. It'd been kind of going back and forth. Things were kind of bubbling underneath the surface. And we kept saying, hey, we're going to talk about these issues. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And then it just never happened. And then one night, everything just kind of the dam just burst. Everything came spilling out at once. It was almost certainly the worst possible time to talk about it. It was super late at night. I was tired out of my mind. The other person was also extremely emotional at the time. So it was probably the worst possible time. But at the same time, I think it was maybe the only time to have the conversation because I think it just was boiling up. Everything just kind of came out at once. While we were having this conversation, the entire time I was consciously thinking, like, I'm glad we're having this conversation. We could finally address the problems. We can talk things out, and hopefully by the end, we can come to a conclusion, right? We can grow closer. We can find a middle ground. We can be stronger than when we started. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, we're going to say some ugly things to each other. But as long as we both are try to be as mature as possible, try to be as constructive as possible, and really take this opportunity to learn more about each other, then we can come out the other side better and stronger than we were before. And I think it was working for a little bit. They said their piece, right? They just kind of started saying a whole bunch of stuff about me. And they were actually pointing out mistakes that I was making that I didn't even realize I was making. I was actually messing things up and hurting them in ways that I didn't even realize, which is why conversations are so important. I needed to know this stuff so I could actually like recognize it and fix it for the future. And when when I eventually said my piece, I was pointing out mistakes that they didn't even realize that they were making. To me, it felt so obvious. I was like, how could you possibly miss this? How could you not realize you're messing up? And I think they did realize that they were making mistakes, but I think they just didn't really conceptualize how much it hurt me. Like I really felt disrespected. I really felt like they didn't care about me for a very long time, which turned out not to be really the case. They just didn't really understand my perspective because we didn't have a conversation about it. We weren't talking about it. So we finally got to talking to each other, and it's so valuable. It's such a valuable thing that happened. To this day, I don't regret it. I think it was absolutely necessary. And as long as I had stayed focused on being constructive, I think it would have been fine. I don't think any mistakes would have been made. And I think I was doing a great job for the most part. Like I said, while the conversation was happening, I was consciously thinking to myself, Isaac, stay in control of your emotions. Don't lash out. Don't get too angry. Don't say something you shouldn't say. And I was trying to be as constructive as possible, as empathetic as possible. I kept trying to see from their perspective, from their side at all times. And there were a ton of really mean and nasty things that I could have said in the moment because I was angry. I was pretty emotional, but I held it back, right? I tried to stay as in control of my emotions as I possibly could, and I held back. And I think 99% of the way, I nailed it, right? 99% of the way, I did a great job. But there was 1% of me, 1% that I just could not let go. This tiny little like seed of evil inside of me that wanted to attack back. I just wasn't satisfied with defending myself. I should have just defended myself. I should have just said, hey, listen, I hope you recognize that you're doing these things that it really hurts me. It really makes me feel bad. I just want you to understand that it's making me feel bad. And I hope you don't continue doing these things in the future. Is that okay? Like, do you understand how I feel? Can you understand why I might feel this way? If I had just said that would have been fine. But there was like I said, it was the tiniest part. I really only wanted to defend myself. I really did not want to make the situation any worse. But there was just this part of me that could not let go of this conversation without saying something back. There was a part of me that wanted them to feel as hurt and as disrespected as I felt. I wanted them to feel as small as I felt in the moment. There's an ego, an evilness. Say whatever you want. I don't even know what to call it. But I just was not satisfied with just defending myself. I had to stick the knife in and twist it in a little bit. I had to add some venom or some poison to my words, just to hurt them. The sole purpose of saying something, just to hurt them, just to make them feel bad. And the second I said that, so the second I let that part of me win, again, 99% of the way I was controlling myself. I really thought that I had a solid foothold of my emotions. I really thought I was in control of myself. But the second that 1% of me slipped out, that part of me that for whatever reason just wanted to hurt them, just to hurt them, the second that part of me slipped out, instantly I knew I messed up because I said some things that I definitely should not have said. It was absolutely completely unnecessary. And they were hurtful things. Now, yes, it could have been worse. I absolutely could have twisted the knife way further. I could have been way more mean, way more insulting. But it doesn't matter because what I did end up saying was absolutely way too much. It was just too much. And as soon as I saw the person's reaction to what I said, I instantly knew I went way too far. And I regretted it. The amount of regret I felt was overwhelming. As soon as I said what I said, keep in mind, we were having a back and forth conversation. They were venting, I was venting, right? It looked like we were making some ground. It looked like we were finally addressing problems we needed to address for a very long time, and we were gonna come out stronger at the other end. That's what should have happened. But the second that I said the unnecessary stuff, again, it wasn't on them. It was on me. I went a step too far. What the other person said, it just shook me to my core. There was a pause. They looked at me and they were like, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but almost word for word. They said, "Hey, listen, Isaac, I'm really glad we had this conversation. I'm glad you showed the side of me. I hope that you never, ever, ever talk to me ever again." When they said this, it just shattered my heart into a million pieces. I mean, I just felt the amount of regret. I couldn't even be mad at them saying that because looking back, how can I possibly respond when I just said stuff that showed that I clearly wasn't interested in coming to a conclusion. I clearly wasn't interested in being constructive because if I was, why would I say what I said? The stuff that I said, the stuff that I said was clearly intended to only hurt the other individual and nothing else. No other reason to say what I said other than to hurt them. And it worked like a charm. I did end up hurting them. I guess I hurt them much more than I intended to or than I realized that I could. But I hurt them and they lost all interest in talking with me. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe at how badly I'd messed up. Just think about it for a second. Do you have people in your life that you would never ever want to talk to, that you would never ever even want to associate with? I don't know if you do, but I absolutely do. I know plenty of people in my life who I would never under any circumstances want to talk to or associate with or be friends with or anything like that. I mean, these are horrible, horrible people that I'm thinking about. Literally zero redeeming qualities, completely evil, absolute assholes, mega bullies, like just pieces of complete human garbage, right? I would never ever want to talk to. And someone that I genuinely care about, someone that I really, really care about, someone who's close enough to hurt me and I was close enough to hurt them, for a moment, they felt that way about me. They really felt like I was someone that they never ever wanted to associate with ever again. Now, you could say like, oh, emotions were high. Maybe they were saying stuff that they didn't really mean. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. But in that moment, I absolutely was somebody that they just completely lost all interest in talking to. We were literally just having a conversation. We were making some ground. And then as soon as I said what I said, they just completely checked out. They were like, this is not a person I'm interested in having any sort of conversation with or argument or anything like that. I'm completely done with this person. And I couldn't even blame them because looking back, I mean, why would they want to associate with someone who is actively trying to hurt them when there's just no need, when there's literally just no need? It just made me feel so bad. I mean, I couldn't believe I was still like this. I couldn't believe that I still had that sort of like that seed inside of me, that 1% of me that wants to hurt somebody. I thought I was already over this. In high school, I feel like I was a piece of garbage in high school, right? I mean, I was young, I was stupid, I was extremely selfish. I only thought about myself. I didn't really, really care about how I affected the people around me. But after I made a ton of mistakes in high school, I did a lot of self-reflection. I really, really thought about how I used to act, how I want to be in the future, the kind of person I want to be, the kind of relationships that I want to have with other people, how I want other people to perceive me, and not just how I want them to perceive me, but how I actually am, what I do to earn that sort of the positive reputation that I would like. And I did a ton of self-reflection work, and I thought I'd gone to a good conclusion. I thought I'd put the hours in, put the effort in, really, really self-reflected, and I thought I'd come out the other side a better person. I thought I have matured past this selfish, immature piece of garbage high schooler that I used to be, and now I'm ready to be a genuinely kind and responsible and emotionally secure adult. That's what I had thought. But even though I'd put all the mental practice in, I've done all the self-reflection, I understand the genuine value of being kind and the genuine value of forgiveness. It's not something that someone has to tell me to do. I understand it purely on my own. I thought I knew that, but I guess it's been so long. It's literally been years since I last was close enough with someone to where they can like do lasting damage to my heart. It's just been so long that I guess I just didn't have. I never had the situation to put it into practice. And the second I get into a situation where I am able to put it into practice, right? Things are dicey, tensions are high, emotions are really, really high. Both people are, we're just kind of going at it. This is the time where emotional control is the most important, where sympathy and empathy is the most important, where I should be most trying to understand the other person's side and reconcile with them. This is the time where any sort of evil or malice or urge to attack, that's when it's most dangerous and where it shouldn't exist at all. That's where I needed the most control, and this is where I failed. It was my critical failure. Like I said, I think I handled this situation 99% correctly. I think high school me would have absolutely ruined this situation way worse than I did. I thought I improved so much. But this 1%, the 1% of evil, the 1% of wanting to attack back, not being satisfied with just defending yourself, but wanting to attack back, this 1% completely destroys and ruins the other 99%. The other 99% of improvement just doesn't matter anymore when the person you're talking to realizes, hey, this person can talk all they want about being constructive. They can talk all they want about wanting to find a middle ground and wanting to improve our relationship. But if they really meant it, why are they saying these things to me that clearly show that all they care about is hurting me as badly as they possibly can, right? This 1% just destroyed everything. And I want to kill that 1%. I want to make sure that part of me does not ever exist again. This is the first time I just so viscerally feel just how destructive it is, just how dangerous and poisonous it is. This 1% of me basically almost completely destroyed a relationship that I genuinely care about, right? Someone who matters the most to me, I almost completely lost all contact with this person over a stupid argument where it just didn't need to happen. It was all my fault. It didn't need to happen. And this is a mistake I cannot make. Like, the stakes are too high. Losing friends are already precious enough, but people that you're so close with that they can hurt you and you can hurt them, those are exceedingly rare. Those are the relationships that are most precious, that you have to hold up the most, right? That protected the most. And I almost destroyed it all in a single night for just no reason, just because I felt like I needed to say something back, which is so stupid and immature. So I just want to absolutely kill that part of me. I never ever. I mean, I genuinely hope for, like, in the future, I never ever act like that ever again. A little bit of time has passed by since this argument happened, and thankfully, there's kind of a happy ending to the story in the sense that the relationship didn't get destroyed. It almost did. I actually almost destroyed it. But the conversation did end up being necessary. A lot of the issues that we were both talking about, we worked over to resolve. Everything kind of worked out in the end, thankfully. But I mean, I was this close. I was this close to completely, like, permanently destroying a relationship that I genuinely care about. And I never, ever want to get that close ever again. If it happened, if I had destroyed that relationship, the only person I could possibly blame is myself. And I can't believe I'm still so immature to where I almost let that happen. I think this part of me, this like little evil part of me that wants to attack back, that wants to say something back, I'm 100% certain that part of me has been there for a very long time. But I think this is just the first time I really realized just how bad it is to feel that way, just how destructive it is. Like I said, I think I fixed 99% of my other problems, right? I think I tackled this specific argument with as much maturity and emotional control as I possibly could have, constantly thinking, how can I be constructive? How can I bring us closer together instead of farther apart, right? How can I be a emotionally responsible and mature adult in this situation, right? Really try to come to a genuine conclusion and a solution between two people. I feel like I nailed it 99% of the way, but this 1% actually almost ruined it all. And it's something I must fix. I cannot ever want to attack someone. It's not just that I did attack them. It's that there was a part of me that wanted to do it. I wanted them to feel bad. I don't ever want, just think about how horrible that is. I don't ever want to be someone who wants to attack someone ever. Just to give a quick example, it does in my whole life, no matter how angry I am at someone, no matter how bad the argument is, physical violence is completely off the table. That's not even an option that comes into my head, right? That is never ever an option. And I think for most rational human beings, if you're sufficiently within a certain window of rationality and control, you're the exact same way, right? No matter how bad an argument gets, physical violence is completely off the table. If you're someone who does resort to that, I genuinely think you probably need some sort of help. That's beyond the scope of this video. But I'm proud. I'm proud. Even though it's a quote unquote normal thing to be, I'm still proud of the fact that no matter how angry that I get, physical violence is not even on the that's not even within the cards, right? That's completely off the table. I now want to treat emotional violence the exact same way. I want to treat emotional violence as something so dangerous, so extremely taboo, that it's just not even on the table. No matter how bad of an argument I'm having with someone, I never, ever, ever want to use my words as a weapon to hurt them. I think maybe there was a small part of me that knew that if I take, some precious information or some insecurity about somebody and I twist the words around in a certain specific way, I can do maximum damage to someone. I think I knew I always had that sort of weapon in the back that I could use at any point in an argument. And so I felt like, when an argument is happening and I'm extremely mad at someone, I should use that weapon, right? I should just hurt them as bad as I can because they'd hurt me. But I think now I'm realizing that it's just so mutually destructive. I mean, honestly, it really only hurts me. It barely even hurts them because they get to discard a piece of garbage that wants to hurt them from their life. Meanwhile, I just have to live with the fact that I wanted to hurt this person, even though I claim that I really care about them. So I think I now understand, I'm just in a better mind space where I can understand that this gigantic flaw in my thinking and in how I treat relationships and how I treat people exists. I'm glad that this happened. I mean, I got extremely lucky with this sort of situation because it ended up resolving itself, but it might not end up resolving itself in the future. So I just want to make sure. I want to absolutely make sure that I never. I mean, I'm genuinely kind of terrified that I'll still make the same mistake, but I really, really hope I don't. I think at least now I can recognize that this part of me exists, and I can take the active steps necessary to kill it off completely and make sure if I'm ever in an argument, I can defend myself. Yes, I'm proud that I did it. I'm glad that I did it. It was necessary. It ended up fixing some problems. But attacking back is just so completely useless and so destructive and so evil and so poisonous. I mean, again, words cannot describe the amount of guilt and regret that I felt as soon as I said what I said. As soon as I saw the reaction, knowing that you hurt somebody that you care about and the only person you have to blame is yourself, and it was just so unnecessary. You just didn't need to say it. You just didn't need to do it. Man, there's just there are a few things in life that feel worse. And, I'm an adult now, right? I can't blame youth anymore. I'm not a high schooler, right? I'm in my mid-20s, right? I have to take full responsibility over my actions. I need to understand when I mess up and just how seriously I'm messing up. And, I want to fix it. I hope in the future I never, ever, ever, ever lash out in anger like that ever again. And I hope I can purely focus on being constructive and staying in control of my emotions. I think physical violence should always be completely off the table, right? No matter what. I think most people can agree with that. And now I think I want to treat emotional violence with that exact same amount of respect. I want to make sure that I stay in control of myself. Again, even though I did filter out as much as I could, that 1%, it's still too much. 1% is way too much. I need to be able to control 100%. If I cannot control 100%, again, I'm not saying I have to be 100% perfect. I'm saying there must be a limit that I cannot pass no matter what. There's a line you just simply cannot cross. And I want to make sure that I make sure I see that line, I recognize it, and I just don't cross it ever, no matter the situation. Because I have that line with other things, other parts of my life, and it works out just fine. And I know that I am capable of applying that same level of respect to this sort of situation where I do not attack someone emotionally, especially when it's unnecessary, and I just don't need to do it. Yeah. Other than that, I'm glad the conversation. I'm glad that argument happened. I'm glad I was able to be mostly constructive about it. I got super lucky in the fact that things kind of ended up working out in the end anyway. Me and this person are closer now than we were before, which is awesome, which is great. And I really hope, I mean, I know for a fact I'm never going to mess up that badly ever again. I mean, hopefully anyway, because I now fully recognize just like the horrors and the dangers that await if I make the same sort of mistake. But yeah, there you go. I want to be a better person, right? I don't ever want to get angry. I don't want to hurt anybody emotionally or with my words ever, no matter how bad the situation is. And this, I mean, looking back, this situation definitely didn't even call for it. It's not that it was a small thing, but it just didn't call for it. It really was so unnecessary. And I feel like, most arguments in life are just so unnecessary. I mean, just kind of forgive and forget. I think it's just such an important thing to realize. Being kind and forgiving, these are things that they're so insanely useful. Useful to you. You don't even have to worry about the benefit on other people. It's just so beneficial to you personally to be quick to forgive and to be as kind as you possibly can at all times. Dude, anger and and emotional violence and sticking the knife in the other person, twisting it as much as you can. Even if you think that it's going to bring you any sort of happiness or it's going to boost your ego, it's going to make you feel good, it does so nothing. It's just such an absolute destroyer of all worlds. So I'm glad that I recognize that now. I'm super lucky. I'm so lucky that I was able to recognize this flaw in myself, and I hope I'm able to correct it as early as possible. Man, I really hope I don't have to keep making these sorts of videos about giant flaws in myself, in my psyche, in my psychology, in my emotional being. I just want to improve as a person. I don't think I'm ever going to be perfect, but there are just some parts of me that must be improved. It cannot stay the same. So I hope I'm not even kidding when I say this. I really hope that's the last time I ever get either that angry in an argument or at the very least respond in that way. So yeah, there we go. Just my rambling, my thoughts. I want to be a better person. I want to be a kinder person. I want to be quicker to forgive. I want to be more patient. And at the very least, I don't ever want to hurt someone I care about. That's a line I do not ever want to cross again. So yeah, there you go. Let's just work on being a better person. There you go.